We got a couple big anniversary horror films that we will be discussing. We're going to kick it off with the 50th anniversary of a classic film in my top 100. And after this watch, it's a banger. I gotta say, we're talking about the 50th anniversary of Texas Chainsaw Massacre from Tobe Hooper. That's a beautiful
This,
box there.
the steel case, yeah, it's
That's
pretty.
a good one. I like that. The steel
It's
case
only
is pretty
DVD
cool.
though.
Yeah, this is a steel case. It's pretty dope. I like it.
Yeah,
But Texas Chainsaw Massacre. My first experience with this movie was maybe like 13 years ago, watching it for the first time, and it gives like a warning, like when it's a scroll, like the most horrific crimes, and it makes it feel like it's like a documentary in a way. Like this is like a really grisly story and how it's told. And I think that gives the appeal and the lore and the crazy nature of this film its appeal. Texas Chainsaw, it's a very basic story in this a sense that it's a group of travelers going to visit a house that a relative stayed at that has passed away. They kind of journey onto somebody else's property, and of course, they are they're some psychopaths living in that place. And there's one guy wielding a chainsaw, wearing other people's skin, and they may or may not be playing with their dead grandfather. Really fun stuff all the way around. How it's shot, again, is a testament to Tobe Hooper here. He's done some really good movies. He actually did the 1979 Salem's Lot film as well. So he has a way with directing really good paced horror films. Unlike Salem's Lot from '79, that's a 3-hour mini-series movie, paced slowly. And they don't show a lot of the villains in that movie, but in Texas Chainsaw, we have a crisp hour and 23 minutes, and it flies by, and you really get to see, like, you basically the opening scroll takes about 5 minutes of the movie, so you're really jumping into this, and it's really back into heavy with the villains, and the kills come really quick. They're not the grossest kills compared to today's standards, but when it came out, it's really damn effective. So I spoke enough about this. What are your takes and thoughts on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, my friend?
yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie as well. I have it. Let's see, I have it number 5 of 1974, which is a really good year, and
Yep.
it's crazy movie because I mean the budget's what $80,000. It look and you could tell.
Yeah.
It's so grainy, but that along with like the opening like script and voiceover thing, it gives you such an eerie feeling, and like you said, yeah, like a documentary, because it just feels like they're so real because the actors are all kind of bad, but it's not about the actors, it's about the fact that they just feel like real people. And
Mhm.
I mean, and they're like uninteresting people, sort of. They find themselves in like these extreme situations, yet realistic situations. And the way the movie's shot, it's just so dirty and relentless and gross. And right from the moment you meet the hitchhiker on,
Mhm.
I mean, it's inhumane, and but making an audience feel that uncomfortable watching it is admirable. And I've always thought that about this movie. I know Tarantino is like the biggest fan of this. Yeah, I think it's his favorite grindhouse movie. I don't
Mhm.
even know if I would put it in that category, but I mean, I guess he knows more than I do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and one thing I do love about horror movies is is when they have a complete lack of why. Like you have no idea who these people are. And their motive is nothing other than the fact that they just do it. And the fact that you don't know why and you have no backstory on these people, it just makes it that much more terrifying because they are so unpredictable. And I mean, I love everything about this movie. Really, like the last 30 minutes are kind of unending, and I think that's in a good way because it's. I mean, it never stops. And like you said, it just flies by.
Mhm.
And it's brutal. I mean, the guy is wielding a chainsaw. I'm pretty sure this is the first time a chainsaw has been used as a weapon in a movie,
Mhm.
and and it's shocking. And they just that the sound of it is just disturbing. And I mean,
Yeah.
these characters, they just keep getting into the same issues over and over again, but you don't know exactly what they're walking into because these characters are so evil. I kept thinking of like in the 40-Year-Old Virgin when Jay's watching Dawn of the Dead and he just interrupts Andy and he's just like, "Bitch, get out the room! Bitch, get out the room!" And that's exactly what. Just like, no, don't walk in that door. You like you have no idea what the on is on
Like,
the
why are
other
you
end of
going to
that
that
door.
house? You have no idea who's in there. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I wish a movie could be longer. Honestly, I don't even remember when the first time I saw it was. A couple of years ago, my girlfriend and I did. We watched this, and then we watched like the one with Jessica Biel, and then we watched the one that had just come out, the 2022 version. This one is
Mm.
clearly the best because of the lack of production values, just makes it that much better. But
Yeah.
it's a cool story that can be remade, but I've never seen the sequels. I feel like the sequels would cheapen the effect of this one, even though Tobe Hooper did do the second one.
Mhm.
I've never gone to watch those, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just a masterpiece of a story.
Yeah. And it's based off like a real killer and stuff like that too. So has the
Ed
very like
Gein.
real, yeah, Dean, some real world ties. And I know like Hannibal Lecter's kind of takes some homages from this, and little bits of pieces here and there. And yeah, Toby Hooper did do Texas Chainsaw Part 2, and I haven't dived into the direct sequels, but I've seen Texas Chainsaw 3D with Alexander Daddario and the Jessica Biel one and a couple of other ones. I didn't watch that Netflix one a couple of years ago. I haven't watched that one yet, but like those ones are fun they're like fun with a budget type of thing. They
Yeah.
have a budget. This one is beautiful because it doesn't have a budget, and that's sometimes those, and it's very indie feeling, which is a beautiful thing. And I think the effect, especially watching it, and it feels dirty and feels grimy, and you go into that room with all the chicken feathers. It's just a gross feeling, and like it feels like it's a more like a dirty version of a chicken coop. Like I know that. I've been in a chicken coop a couple times before, like at a friend's house, and I don't want to go back in there. And having a whole room dedicated to that in the house, and just her falling in those feathers is gross and brutal. And one of them gets stored in I think that same girl gets stored in a freezer at one point too. And every character is you like it's you're they're trying to find each other, but then they're making the dumbest decision by going into some other house. They thinking no one's there, but little did they know they are there. And I think the sound design and the score makes the kills and like the moments and the settings even better as well. And then of course the iconic scene of him the ending where she Marilyn Burns, who plays Sally, Sally's in the back of the truck and just laughing, like she just got away, and she's going crazy in the back of the truck. And then you see Leatherface wheeling that chainsaw with the amazing background of the sunset behind, or the sunrise behind him. It's a beautiful like way to close it out, and it's an iconic way too. So it's obviously, if you like did a montage of like famous best scenes in horror films, I think those that have to be in those the montages too. So so many great things were captured in this, and can't believe it feels 50 years, but it feels timeless at the same time. It's definitely a cinema done right, especially with the budget they were able to have too.
Yeah. Yeah, the ending is sort of like the classic ending,
Hmm.
and, I mean, because she had just gone through, like, hell, and
Hmm.
I mean, and I don't know, Leatherface is an interesting one because he's, like, a big guy, and he like, kinda saws his leg a little bit, but
Yeah,
he's also sort of you feel like he's kind of the dumb one, but
yeah, I
he's a
think it
monster,
is.
and
Yeah.
Ye which I don't know the, eventual where Leatherface goes after this, but I assume that he only gets more evil. But in this one, he
Mhm.
just is so unknowable because he's like this because his face is covered and he's just like this big like I don't know this big lug of a whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know with a movie like this where yes it's low budget and it's really grimy and all that stuff. The thing that sets it apart from like Friday the 13th, like that one is like pure exploitation, and
Mhm.
it plays on like your like I don't know, the thirst for nudity and the thirst for just like excessive violence. This one doesn't really have excessive violence. It's more of like what happens off screen that makes
Mhm.
it as disturbing as any horror movie, because you don't see that many kills, you don't see that much violence. A lot of
And
it
they're not
is
even over the top either. Yeah.
yeah, it's bizarre, and I think that using your imagination to see the things makes it that much more sickening.
Mhm. And I think that even the best parts of it is the very beginning of the movie, because again, there's the long talking segments. They have the scroll opening scroll about this brutal crime and people um, Sally and Kinney were able at the hands of this evil killer, and they go straight into a news report. You don't even get introduced these characters for a while. Well, even though the runtime is so short, it feels like a while. The opening report is about this cemetery, and there's a corpse. They're panning out on a corpse on a gravestone about them digging up corpses at this cemetery, and assumingly they're cooking them, eating them. And obviously the Texas Chainsaw and the bunch of horror films like Halloween, Nightmare, and Friday the 13th are like the big blockbuster mainstream horror films, but Texas Chainsaw is up there as an iconic killer too, and he's been got the video game treatment going on as well with several different outings. And of course, too, they have a lot of homages in the Resident Evil franchise, especially the ending of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this film that we're talking about today, with the whole eating, having a character tied to a chair, and they're eating this really a gross meal right in front of the character. It's a blatant like homage to Texas Chainsaw. And even today's horror films, in my recent review of Terrifier 3, I feel like the chainsaw was what he used in that film, and it's perfect timing because the 50th anniversary of Texas Chainsaw is happening now, and uh, there was a really brutal kill with the shower scene in Terrifier 3, but it went back to Leatherface, and I feel like Leatherface would have probably done something just as brutal if they went toe to toe with chainsaws together. So it's cool to see that even though Texas Chainsaw is 50 years old, they're still kind of paving the way of like what you could do with these horror weapons as well too. So
Yeah,
I guess we should what.
I was gonna say I'd be interested to see what Zach actually thinks about this. Zach has it listed as 2 stars on the website. That
Mm,
that seems extreme. I know Ebert was not a fan of this movie, of course, because he
that's
didn't
probably
like
why.
it. It probably has like a I don't think he likes these type of extreme horror movies, but I mean, Zach, if he's ever seen it, I would love to hear his reviewing, because I mean, it's hard not to be swept up in this, even if it isn't something you really want to look at. I mean, it's kind of hard not to.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. The I guess the characters we should mention too. Marilyn Burns, Sally, the main character, the lone survival, the final girl of the film. She has reprised her role in the recent Netflix Texas Chainsaw. She also appeared in the Alexander Daddario version as well, Texas Chainsaw 3D that came out in 2013. That one, I've seen this one, but I don't recall it honestly. But I do remember the Jessica Biel one. But that's pretty good. She's returned. She was also in the Return of Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1995, and a couple other films is there as well. So or having yeah, and then you got the hitchhiker, which is Edwin Neal. He's also reprised, or it was archival footage with the Alexander Daddario one as well. And then you got Jim Saito as the old man. He is aka the cook. He's the cook, the gas station attendant. I think that whole sequence at the dining room table has to be like one of the more my favorite scene in it, other than the ending, of course, but that the dining room sequence when they're eating and she's tied up and just freaking out. It's fantastic. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's when it gets to its apex before
Hmm.
the eventual like inevitable chase that was going to go on.
Yeah. Um, who's your least favorite character in the movie?
That's such a weird question.
It is. because it's not like like none of these characters get fleshed out or anything. But I think like the most annoying character, it's unfortunate, it has to be what's Franklin, the guy in the
Oh, the
wheelchair.
governor.
Oh no, that's
Yeah, I
something.
mean, well, he's definitely the worst actor of the
Yeah,
group.
true. But it's just like he goes in there and like starts like man. That's just like, oh, I don't remember that at all, but because I'm not really remembering the other characters, I'm just remembering Sally and Leatherface and those moments. But it's like rewatching, I was like, man, like that's glaringly apparent. Like that's what's he doing there?
And he's such an idiot too. I mean, he gives the
Yeah.
hitchhiker his knife. Like, I mean, a guy you've never met, you just give. I mean, it's I don't know. He's a dumb character. He probably is my least favorite, and I also just think that the grandfather is completely reprehensible. But I mean, it is interesting. Like the mask that they use on him is like obviously way more uh, high tech than the Leatherface mask. So I'm not really. I don't know if that was like half their budget. It was like
The grandfather's mask. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, well, so you're like 3.5, or what's your rating on this?
yeah, it's a high 3.5 star movie, which I mean, I don't really know why it's not higher because I don't really give a whole lot of 4-star horror movies. So, but it
Right,
is top
I'm
five
right
in
with
1974 and one of the best horror movies of the 70s for sure.
correct. Yeah. This again, like this is my number two of 1974, right behind Chinatown. And I believe, if I don't have the list right in front of me, it is in my top 80 movies of all time.
Yeah, I remember
I,
when you announced that.
you're like, whoa, really? Tarantino would love you. That's I remember that. It's number 78 on my top 100. So right between Memento at 79 and Godzilla from 1954 at number 77. So celebrating its 70th anniversary. So there we go. All right. Well, that's our review and our homage to the 50th anniversary of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a great film. Uh, Definitely a great film. And have you seen the box set that comes in now? The 50th. Like it comes
Mm-mm.
in like this chainsaw box, and it's like there's like several different 4K releases. You should check it out. It's like the 50th anniversary of Texas Chainsaw box set. It's shaped like a chainsaw. There's only 300 of them made. I know maybe it was maybe more, but it was going for like $300.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah, with like
that's sick.
that's something, huh?
Yeah,
It's definitely something. I'll pop it on the screen if you're watching it on our YouTube channel. So, all right. Well, that is where we're going to leave it. We're going to try to hitchhike our way out of here and not get trapped by Leatherface. We will see you in the next review.